Every trader talks about fear of losing, fear of missing out, fear of being wrong. But hardly anyone talks about the other fear, the one that destroys more traders quietly, slowly, and consistently than almost any mistake I've ever seen. The fear of holding a winning trade. The fear of letting profit run. The fear of success. I've watched hundreds of traders sabotage their own potential because they couldn't handle the pressure of being right. They could handle losing. They could handle being wrong. But the moment they were right, everything inside them panicked. And they cut the trade. Too early. Way too early. It took me a long time to understand this pattern. At first, I thought it was just inexperience. I thought it was poor structure, bad timing, lack of trust in the strategy. But the more I watched traders, some new, some experienced, some brilliant, some average, the more I realized something far darker. Cutting profits early has nothing to do with the market. It has everything to do with the trader's inner world. The first time I noticed this in myself, I was young, reckless, chasing setups with more excitement than understanding. I caught a clean move, perfect entry, perfect timing, everything aligned. And instead of holding it, letting the structure play out, letting the market give me what it was clearly offering, I closed it early. Very early. A few minutes later, I watched the position explode in the direction I predicted. The trade I exited early became the move I had been waiting for all week. I remember staring at the screen with a sinking feeling in my stomach, not because of the money I missed, but because I didn't understand why I did it. Why would I cut a winning trade that had no reason to be cut? Why would I refuse the reward I earned? Why did closing early feel safer than letting it run? It took years before I found the real answer. A losing trade challenges your analysis. A winning trade challenges your identity. When you lose, you blame something outside yourself: timing, volatility, spreads, news. You create distance from it. You protect your ego. But when you win, when you're right, when your analysis works perfectly, now the pressure is internal. Because if you hold the trade, if you let it mature, if you allow it to run, you risk giving back profit. You risk turning a win into a loss. You risk feeling stupid. You risk confronting the idea that success is harder for you to accept than failure. Many traders are more comfortable losing small than winning big. And that's the psychological darkness that no one talks about. I've seen traders who would rather take a tiny win than let a trade grow even slightly. They want the dopamine rush. They want the safety. They want the relief of exiting. Not the responsibility of managing. A small win feels like control. A big win feels like risk. And they choose control every time, even if it keeps them permanently average. I once mentored a trader named Carson. Smart guy. Sharp mind. Solid setups. But he never made money. Not because he lost too much, but because he refused to hold winners. Every time he made a little, he closed. Every time. His biggest wins were the smallest part of his equity curve. His size didn't matter. His entries didn't matter. His accuracy didn't matter. Because he never allowed his success to breathe. I sat him down one day and asked why he kept closing early. Why he couldn't hold trades the moment they became profitable. And after a long silence, he said something I'll never forget. Because if I hold it, I'll have something real to lose. That hit me harder than any trading mistake I'd ever seen. He wasn't afraid of losing. He was afraid of losing while being right. He was afraid of proving his potential and then failing to live up to it. He was more comfortable with a small win than a meaningful one. He didn't trust himself enough to let success grow. And that's when I understood something brutal about traders. Most traders don't fail because they can't win. They fail because they can't allow themselves to win enough. Small wins feel safe. Big wins feel like exposure. And exposure feels dangerous. So they cut. Over and over. And they wonder why they never grow. A trader who cannot hold a winner is a trader who has not yet learned to hold himself together when things go right. But the real shift, the moment everything changes, is when you begin to see a winning trade as a responsibility instead of a threat. When you realize the market is giving you something because you earned it. When you understand that the fear you feel is not a warning, it's a test. And passing that test is the difference between a struggling trader and a profitable one. The dark truth about taking profits too early is that it's a symptom of something deeper. It's fear. Fear of being wrong after being right. Fear of losing after winning. Fear of trusting your own judgment. Fear of letting go of control. And until you confront that fear, until you dig deep into the part of you that doesn't believe you deserve big wins, you'll keep sabotaging them. When I finally learned to hold winners, it didn't happen because of some technical skill. It wasn't because of a strategy. It wasn't because of a book I read or a mentor I followed. It happened because I became someone who could handle the emotional weight of being right. I became someone who could tolerate the discomfort of possibility. I became someone who didn't need to grab a small profit just to feel safe. Because safety doesn't make you profitable. Growth does. And growth only comes from pushing beyond the comfort zone of small wins. Now let me ask you something important. Something that will tell you exactly where you are in your trading journey. What scares you more, a losing trade, or a winning one? Be honest. Which one makes your heart beat faster? Which one makes you nervous? Which one makes you feel pressure? Comment below with, "I fear winning more than losing." If you know deep down this video hit a nerve. Because the moment you can admit that, you're one step closer to holding the wins you have earned. If this helped you, like the video and subscribe for more old trading secrets.